This is from chapter 22. Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. In chapter 21, this is the Song of the Flute, and it's the beginning of Shukadeva Goswami's praise of the gopis, love for Krishna, which really will bear fruition later on in starting chapter 29. But chronologically, these are the two events. One is the older gopis, what is called Purvarag. So Purvarag means love before meeting. So when you fall in love with somebody, but you've never really personally met with them. You've seen them, you've heard about them, but you haven't actually met them. That is called Purvarag. So that is what chapter 21 is about. The gopis and different groups around Vrindavan, they are glorifying the good fortune of the flute for being able to be so close to Krishna, which they haven't as yet been able to appreciate. And then here we talk about the Katyayani Vrata, or the vow that is performed by another category of gopis. These are very young gopis. They are unmarried gopis, but more than being unmarried, they are young. So they are from 8 to 10, 11 years old at the most. And they also have a Purvarag. They've also fallen in love with Krishna, and they want to perform a vrata. They want to perform a vow in order to be able to have Krishna as their husband. But in Vrindavan, and actually in real spiritual or transcendental circles, one doesn't speak about these things. So they're telling their parents and their relatives that they want to perform a austerity, a vow. They want to please Durga Devi in the form of Katyayani in order to have a husband in general. But Krishna's name doesn't even come up. And not only do they not tell their elders that they're actually performing this vrata to get Krishna as their husband, but they don't tell each other. Although later on we'll see they'll be chanting a mantra, Katyani Mahamayi Mahi Yogena Dishvari Nanda Sutta Patim Devi Patim Me Kurute Namaha. So there it becomes very clear, and yet acharyas are saying just that although they may be chanting this vow or this mantra, perhaps everyone is thinking that it's only me who's chanting it, and they're not hearing that others are also saying. So everything is very concealed. And Krishna consciousness is like that. One always conceal Rako Ranga Charanirapa. Rakuranga Hridaye Bahiri. That one keeps one's own bhajan and meditations to oneself, within one's heart. It is not a publicized issue. The other day, Swami was telling me this book from my godbrother Sridhar Swami, and in it there was citing one example how one so-called devotee was coming to the Los Angeles temple, and when kirtan was going on, he would start fainting, falling on the ground, rolling in ecstasy, and so on. So they didn't know what to do. So they wrote to Srila Prabhupada, and they said, Prabhupada, what do we do? He's exhibiting these ecstatic symptoms, and Prabhupada said, well, when he starts rolling on the ground, then you go there and you start kicking him in the head. And if he's in ecstasy, he won't notice anyway. So there, it's not for public display, but it's as soon as it's public, then generally speaking, it's not real. In 1976, Prabhupada was when he was greeting devotees at the beginning of the Mayapur festival, and if you go where the dioramas are, that was the temple room. So on this end was Prabhupada's Vyasa-san, same Vyasa-san as he's sitting on now, and on the far end was Radha Madhav, little Radha Madhav. Yeah. And so Srila Prabhupada was speaking, and he was talking about how devotees are coming from all over the world. This was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prediction. And he just went into ecstasy, went silent. And it was like, in English they have this saying, you could hear a pin drop. So there were 600 devotees in the temple room. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone was afraid to move. And Prabhupada was just stunned. He was just sitting there on the Vyasa-san. And then Yashodananda Maharaj started to, not Yashodananda Maharaj, but Hamsadutta Maharaj started to chant Hare Krishna, and everyone else, and then Srila Prabhupada said, so just chant. And that was the end of the class, and then Prabhupada went up. So there was a controversy between the devotees. One side, there's always a controversy between devotees. One side said we shouldn't have interrupted Prabhupada's ecstasy. And the other one said, no, chanting is not an interruption. Chanting is always the right thing to do. It's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So finally, devotees asked for Srila Prabhupada, you went into ecstasy, and then before they could continue, Prabhupada got very shy. He says, but it wasn't for very long, was it? And devotees said, no, but you were just still like that. And then Prabhupada was still being very embarrassed. And he says, but I don't do this very often. And I said, no, Prabhupada, you don't. But our question was whether we should chant Hare Krishna or just wait for you to come out of your ecstasy. And Prabhupada said, no, chanting Hare Krishna is the right thing to do. So Srila Prabhupada was even embarrassed and publicly, there's only a few occasions that Srila Prabhupada actually went into trance, started crying. So here are these young gopis, and their leader is Danya Saki. It's the leader of these younger generation unmarried gopis. And now Shukadeva Goswami said, during the first month of the winter season, so now winter season is starting, the young unmarried girls of Gokula observed the vow of worshipping goddess Katyayani for the entire month. They ate only unspiced khichdi. So Katyayani Vrata, you just eat khichdi once a day, no spice, no salt, nothing. Pretty tasteless, because it's unspiced, the khichdi. And sometimes some sadhus eat it without using their hands, so they just eat it out of the bowl like that. Very austere. My dear king, after they had bathed in the water of the Jamuna, just as the sun was rising, the gopis made an earthen deity of goddess Durga on the riverbank. Then they worshipped her with such aromatic substances as sandalwood pulp, along with other items both opulent and simple, including lamps, fruits, betel nuts, newly grown leaves, and fragrant garlands and incense. The parents were a little concerned that their young daughters are going to take such a very serious vow, especially if you have a 10-year-old girl who says she's only going to eat once a day, just some unspiced khichdi, no makeup, no perfume, just wearing very rough cloth. They're washing their own clothes. There's no massage to be had. They just rise very early in the morning. Now, I mentioned the other day, it's 4 degrees in Vrindavan, and I've been in Vrindavan where it froze overnight, which means it was 0. Actually, that year, all the Tulsis in Vrindavan died. Anyway, so 4 o'clock, they have one cloth on, barefoot. They would walk down to the river and chanting along the way to the Jamuna. So you can see, very, very determined. This is how determined someone has to be. So, I mean, taking a cold shower inside a warm bathroom is like, out of the question. Although that's the healthy thing to do. So here, these are young girls who are doing this. They've decided themselves, and they collect all kinds of things, as it's stated here. They take with them worship items, sandalwood pulp, other items that they take themselves, lamps, fruits, betel, leaves, garlands, incense. And when the sun is rising, they're at the bank of the Jamuna, and when the sun is rising, then from the mud of the Jamuna, they make a deity of Durga Devi. So I guess according to how artistic each gopi was, it would be better or worse, and they could decorate them with flowers and so on. So this is one of the types of deities that one can actually worship. There are 8 different materials, and one of the materials is just out of mud. I forget the verse, but So one is, which is you just make the deity out of mud, you worship it, and when it's finished, you take it and you put it into the river. It's temporarily invoked. And so they're chanting this mantra. Katyayani Mahamahi Mahayogena Dishwari Nanda Gopa Sutam Devi Patim Me Kurute Namaha. Iti mantram japantasta pujam chakru kumarika. So they are called Kumaris. So Kumara, the age of Kumara, and now they're Kumaris. So each of the young unmarried girls performed her worship while chanting the following mantra: O Goddess Katyayani, O great potency of the Lord, O possessor of great mystic power and mighty controller of all, please make the son of Nanda Maharaj my husband. I offer my obeisances unto you. I mean, the fact that they wanted Krishna as their husband, they didn't get Krishna as their husband, they got Krishna as their paramour, as their lover. To want, of course, that can be understood in this way, although the direct meaning of the word pati is husband, but also it means master. Thus, for an entire month, the girls carried out their vow and properly worshipped the goddess Bhadrakali, fully absorbing their minds in Krishna and meditating upon the following thought: may the son of King Nanda become my husband. Each day they rose at dawn, calling out to one another by name. They all held hands and loudly sang the glories of Krishna while going to the Kalindi to take their bath. Ushashi. One day they came to the riverbank, and putting aside their clothing as they had done before, happily played in the water while singing the glories of Krishna. The water is very cold. So I'm wearing a scarf. I'm wearing a rubber suit, and this is warmer here in the Jalangi. I'm wearing a rubber suit. One thing that's and a hat, rubber hat. Is the throat. So just being in the water for an hour and a half really sort of compromised voice. She was very cold. So it's this play in the water. Acharyas sort of describe it in a different way, that they were, they go in the water and they just, when the water is really, really cold, that's why cold water or a cold shower is so good, because as soon as you get under cold water, you are in ecstasy. It's just like that, automatically. And all you can do is laugh and shout and things like that. But one thing for sure is you really wake up. And Srila Prabhupada, up until the time that he had his heart attack, when he was coming, up until that time he always took a cold shower, no matter where he was, and no matter what time of year. So, singing the glories of Krishna. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Master of all masters of mystic yoga, was aware of what the gopis were doing, and thus he went there surrounded by his young companions toward the gopis the perfection of their endeavor. Young companions here means that Krishna took with him like 3-4-year-old boys. In other words, boys who didn't know the difference between a man and a woman, and when they're naked or not naked, it didn't make any difference to them. So those were the boys that Krishna took with him, not those who were the same age as he. So Krishna is following here. Krishna is lifting Govardhan Hill, and then the next year, when he is 8 years old, then he's performing the rasa dance. So here he's 7. But Krishna being 7 means that he's 50%. He looks, thinks, acts 50% older. So he's like a 12-year-old. Taking the girl's garments, he quickly climbed to the top of a kadamba tree. Then as he laughed loudly, and his companions also laughed, he addressed the girls jokingly. Now this pastime, this Leela, takes place up the Jamuna, not far from Nandagat, not far from where Nanda Maharaj was kidnapped by the representatives of Varuna. And so it took place over there. But Krishna also did that to the older gopis. So that took place, and that's when you go along the Parikram marg, then there's 2 trees, and Brahmins want you to either make a knot, and then you tie a string on the branch, or do some puja. So this is where Krishna once did the same thing to the elder gopis. So he addressed the girls jokingly. My dear girls, you may each come here as you wish and take back your garments. I'm telling you the truth, and I'm not joking with you, since I see you're fatigued from executing austere vows. So first of all, the girls are all naked. Srila Prabhupada points out that in India there were certain areas of a river or lake that were designated for women, and no men could go there. And so the ladies could go there and they could bathe naked. I've seen places where just ladies bathe, but not naked. And it's not a advisable practice, because one should never be naked, even if one's in the water. So, I have never before spoken a lie, and these boys know it. Therefore, O slender-waisted girls, please come forward, either one by one or all together, and pick out your clothes. So Krishna got his clothes on the tree. So, how Krishna was joking with them, the gopis became fully immersed in love for him. And as they glanced at each other, they began to laugh and joke amongst themselves, even in their embarrassment, but still they did not come out of the water, so they were in the water. And the water's cold, so Krishna is joking with them like this. Meanwhile, they're starting to really shiver and freeze. As Sri Govinda spoke to the gopis in this way, his joking words completely captivated their minds. Submerged up to the necks in the cold water, they began to shiver. Thus they addressed him as follows. I'll just read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's little conversation here. Quote, the gopis were from most respectable families, and they might have argued with Krishna, why don't you simply leave our clothes on the bank of the river and go away? And Krishna might have replied, but there are so many of you that some of the girls might take the clothes belonging to another. And the gopis would reply, we're honest and never steal anything. We never touch another's property. Then Krishna would say, if that's true, then simply come and get your clothes. What's the difficulty? So, when the gopis saw Krishna's determination, they were filled with loving ecstasy. Although embarrassed, they were overjoyed to receive such attention from Krishna. He was joking with them as if they were his wives or girlfriends, and the gopis' only desire was to achieve such a relationship with him. At the same time, they were embarrassed to be seen naked by him, But still they could not help laughing at his joking words, and even began to joke amongst themselves, one gopi urging the other, "Go ahead, you go first. Let us see if Krishna plays any tricks on you. Then we'll go later." And he continues, "Krishna, O bird-like devotees, if you do not come here, then with these garments caught in the branches, I will make a swing and a hammock. I need to lie down, since I've spent the entire night awake and am now becoming sleepy." Gopis, our dear cowherd boy, your cows, greedy for grass, have gone into a cave, so you must quickly go there to herd them back on the proper path. Krishna, come now, my dear cowherd girls, you must quickly go from here to Braj and perform your household duties. Don't become a disturbance to your parents and other elders. Gopis, our dear Krishna, we will not go home for an entire month, for it is by the order of our parents and other elders that we're executing this vow of fasting, the Katyayani Vrata. Krishna, my dear austere ladies, I too, by the strength of seeing you, have now developed a surprising mood of detachment from family life. I wish to stay here for a month and execute the vow of dwelling in the clouds. And if you show mercy to me, I can come down from here and observe the vow of fasting in your company. The gopis were completely captivated by Krishna's joking words, but out of shyness they submerged themselves in the water up to their necks. Shaking from cold, they addressed Krishna as follows. This was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Now, back to Bhagavatam. The gopis said, "Dear Krishna, don't be unfair. We know that you are a respectable son of Nanda and that you are honored by everyone in Braj. You are also very dear to us. Please give us back our clothes." We're shivering in the cold water. "O Shyamasundar, we are your maidservants and must do whatever you say, but give us back our clothing. You know what the religious principles are, and if you don't give us our clothes, we will have to tell the king. Please." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "If you girls are actually my maidservants, and if you will really do what I say, then come here with your innocent smiles and let each girl pick out her clothes. If you don't do what I say, I won't give them back to you. And even if the king becomes angry, what can he do?" Then, shivering from the painful cold, all the young girls rose up out of the water, covering their pubic areas with their hands. When the Supreme Lord saw how the gopis were struck with embarrassment, he was satisfied by their pure loving affection. Putting their clothes on his shoulders, the Lord smiled and spoke to them with affection. So the girls came and they covered their lower parts, and Krishna was very pleased, was very happy now that they've come like this. But he wanted them to fully surrender. "You girls bathed naked while executing your vow, and that is certainly an offense against the demigods. To counteract your sin, you should offer obeisances while placing your joint palms above your heads. Then you should take back your lower garments." If they put their hands up here, then they're completely visible. Thus the young girls of Vrindavan, considering what Lord Achyuta had told them, accepted that they had suffered a fall down from their vow by bathing naked in the river. But they still desired to successfully complete their vow. And since Lord Krishna is himself the ultimate result of all pious activities, they offered their obeisances to him to cleanse away all their sins. Seeing them bow down like that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Devaki, gave them back their garments, feeling compassionate towards them and satisfied by their act. Although the gopis had been thoroughly cheated, deprived of their modesty, ridiculed, and made to act just like toy dolls, and although their clothing had been stolen, they did not feel at all inimical towards Krishna. Rather, they were simply joyful to have this opportunity to associate with their beloved. The gopis were addicted to associating with their beloved Krishna, and thus they became captivated by him. Thus, even after putting their clothes on, they did not move. They simply remained where they were, shyly glancing at him. The Supreme Lord understood the determination of the gopis in executing the strict vows. The Lord also knew that the girls desired to touch his lotus feet, and thus Lord Damodar Krishna spoke to them as follows. O saintly girls, I understand that your real motive in this austerity has been to worship me. That intent of yours is approved of by me, and indeed it must come to pass. The desire of those who fix their minds on me does not lead to material desire for sense gratification. Just like barley corns burned by the sun and then cooked can no longer grow into any new sprouts. Go now, girls, and return to Braj. Your desire is fulfilled, for in my company you will enjoy the coming nights. After all, this was the purpose of your vow, to worship Goddess Katyayani, O pure-hearted ones. So Shukadeva Goswami concludes, thus instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the young girls, their desires now fulfilled, could bring themselves only with great difficulty to return to the village of Braj, meditating all the while upon his lotus feet. They were praying to have Krishna as their wife. So Krishna made them appear naked. Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book points out that in Vedic culture, a woman is only naked before her husband, and even that rarely. So otherwise, not like we have nowadays, where women are very forward, dressed scantily, and even you have topless. Prabhupada would say topless, bottomless, and so on. So, on the other hand, you notice the difference in the way that the women of Vrindavan are described 5,000 years ago. For instance, the very strict Muslims, women completely cover, and it's just their eyes are visible. That's also going like too far. It's not the way women dress in our culture. They should dress nicely, attractively, but they cover their body. So now the fact that they were naked before Krishna, that was it. That meant that they were Krishna's wives. And for them, that was a marriage ceremony. Didn't have to have anything formal. They recognized that now, if we like this, no other man has ever seen them. No other, of course, not their father, maybe their mother. I mean, their mother, yes, but not their father. One of our longtime residents over here was married to a South Indian Brahmani girl, and she told the story how they were strict Brahmins in terms of their conduct and standards and so on. And the daughter used to always serve the man, the husband. So one day the father asked the mother, how old is her daughter? And they said, she's not 8 years old. He says, then she shouldn't serve from now on. So didn't want an 8-year-old girl in the presence of other man or even the father. Matra sparsha duhitrava navivitakshano bhavet. So that's Shastra. Never be alone with your mother, with your daughter, with your sister. Balavan Indriya Grama. So senses are described as being so strong. So this was very interesting to note how the real determination. So of course we don't have the same type of ability to perform austerities, but at least minimal austerities devotees should do on those days, Ekadasi, Janmastami, and so on, when it's called for. Just to please Krishna. Ultimately, that is the purpose of austerities. So this is the end of this Katyayani Brata, and then begins the next month of winter, cold month of winter. Jai Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Radha Damodar ki jai.